Oh yeah, right there, look.
Where'd it go? Where'd it go? Where'd it go?
The dogs are barking at something.
Where?
Over that way.
Serious?
You loved the first round of Bigfoot sightings, so get ready. This next batch is even weirder, clearer, and harder to explain away. Some of these clips are downright impossible to debunk. Is Bigfoot real? These videos might just make you believe. How many of them are legit? Which ones are fake? And can we find ways to debunk any of the footage I'm about to show you? Well, you might find that it's really hard to poke holes into some of these absolute gems. Are you ready? All right then, let's get into it. But before we unravel the most convincing videos out there, do me a solid and subscribe and share this video. It really helps the channel out a lot. And while you're at it, can you solve an argument we have here at the office? What's the plural of Bigfoot? Is it Bigfoots, big feet, or does it just remain Bigfoot? Kind of like sheep doesn't change from singular to plural. Help a guy out, your answers will decide who wins this bet. And I've got 20 bucks on the line. Put your answers down in the comments below, and I'll let you know who wins in the next video. And now, back to the good stuff. Some pretty convincing video captures of the elusive beast also known as Sasquatch. We start with a quiet homestead and a shadow at the tree line, until one crucial detail gives the whole thing away. On the channel, Bigfoot's Testimony, this 2-minute clip is found among the hundreds of other videos sent in by viewers from all across the globe. Unfortunately, there's no description, location, and the owner of the video is not named. And when something is so intentionally obscure, it automatically gets my suspicion sensors going into the red.
The dogs are barking at something.
Where?
Over that way.
At first, it just looks like the woods. Quiet, still, but then something stirs in the trees. The tree line sighting is quick and hard to make out, and the camera quality isn't great, making me think that this is a very old video.
Oh yeah, right there, look.
Where'd it go? Where'd it go? Where'd it go?
There's definitely a natural gait to this thing, a good sign that this isn't just a guy in a gorilla suit. And I'd have been all over this video if it wasn't for the dog. That little guy is perked up and looking over at its owners. It's not focused on the woods where something massive is lurking about. The hairs on its back aren't standing on end, and it's not barking, whining, or on edge in any way. That's what tells me that this is a fake. That dog would have reacted in some way, I'm sure of it. But you know how I do things. I start us off nice and slow and gear up this machine, working us up to evidence that gets harder and harder to debunk as we go along, until we reach the footage that's impossible to disprove. This piece comes from Rob Hoff, a hiker and solo camper, whose entire channel is based around his epic hikes and scenic shots of the sheer wonder of nature. Not once in the channel's 4-year run has Rob ever focused on anything strange or unusual. It's just not his thing. He's not out there hunting ghoulies and ghosties. So for that reason, I'm already leaning toward a legit encounter.
Alright, I'm back up to the scene of the crime, and so far no signs of anything weird or strange. I am a little bit nervous though.
He'd originally gone up to Pikes Peak in Colorado during autumn and set the camera up to film himself walking along the grassy valley for a cool shot. It wasn't until he got home to start on the editing that he noticed an unusual shape in the trees. Rob thought he was filming a peaceful walk through nature until he spotted something that sent a chill down his spine. And this thing is absolutely massive. Rob was unnerved, but curious enough to go back just a few months later, in the middle of winter, to see if he could figure out what it was.
Check these out. You serious? Look at this. Alright, I just want you to see how big this is. My hand doesn't even go halfway across the forefoot.
He finds huge footprints, and just before he calls off his search for the night, he smacks a tree with a stick, hoping to get a reply.
Tree with a piece of wood, so let's see if I can get a call back.
But when he knocks on that tree, something knocks back. And he gets exactly that. Less than 5 seconds after he hits the tree, the same sound replies. In the 4 years since that video was uploaded, Rob hasn't gone back, nor has he put up any content even remotely like it. I'm not gonna lie, I like Rob's encounter, and if there's anyone who sounds sincere, it's Rob Hoff. That was unsettling. But what happens when someone dedicated to finding Bigfoot finally succeeds? I'm not the biggest fan of this next clip for 2 reasons. First, it was taken by a well-known Bigfoot hunter, and as you guys might have noticed, I'm highly suspicious of anyone who stands to gain monetarily from any kind of evidence. But my overly suspicious nature shouldn't discount this entirely. Scott Carpenter was a legend that really knows his stuff. And after so many years of hunting for evidence, it's not that far off that he could actually get something worthwhile eventually. Secondly, there's a lot here that could be easily faked, but I'll leave that over to you to decide.
Thing I wanted to show you before I got out of here, I'd done a mock stick structure right here where I'd made just an X.
Scott put up a marker in a tree, consisting of a log with a stick vertically placed over it. But when he got back there, the stick was snapped cleanly in half.
A stick right here, and I actually put it underneath there, and I'll have to go back and...
To me, this isn't all that strange. Out in the woods, there are plenty of ways that this could have happened. But Scott is convinced that teepee-like structures are somehow repulsive to Bigfoot, and that they intentionally destroy these markers whenever they see them. And he's definitely not the only one who believes in this behavior pattern. Hey, I'm no stranger to folklore and superstitions, but if Bigfoot were that advanced, we'd have found other signs of religious or art-infused artifacts that indicate that they're superstitious of this kind of thing. I just think that's stretching the lore beyond reason. The woods suddenly go completely silent, which is hard to explain. I can give it that much. At first, the forest just feels off. Then, it goes completely silent. That's when things take a turn. But then Scott claims that he's surrounded by several Bigfoot. Scott says he saw several hulking shadows.
Probably got my attention by making noise and darting between the trees. I come up here and whoever's down there does what they need to do.
Each one vanishing just as he turned toward it. When they start surrounding him from behind, forcing him up the hill, Scott becomes convinced that they're luring him upwards.
My boot. So that's a 16, 17-inch track. And like I said, right here's the heel mark.
And he finds a 16-inch footprint in the leaves. But to me, a broken stick and a footprint does not validate why this footage is so incredibly famous. I still recommend checking out his channel. Scott was one of the greats. But this one, I'm afraid, doesn't sell it for me. But there's nothing vague about what you're about to see. Number 2 is the most clear image of Bigfoot's features that I've ever seen. This comes from Sunny Vader, a channel devoted to Sasquatch footage. My only hiccup with this clip is that the description doesn't give us much. No location, no names or dates, just that it was uploaded by the channel in 2023. The trail cam is fantastic, exactly what a serious hunter would be using in our current day and age. There's nothing grainy or out of focus here. It steps into frame, and what we see next is the stuff of nightmares. You can clearly see an 8-foot-tall bipedal creature coming into view, but the moment it sees the camera, it backs away. It's being very intentional about staying out of frame, but not before we catch a glimpse of its face. Then it turns, and that face, you won't forget it, eerily human, down to its remarkably expressive eyes. There's no mistaking what's staring at you. This is Bigfoot in the flesh. Everything inside of me wants to say that this is too good to be true. But the level of prosthetics and Hollywood-level artistry needed to achieve this degree of realism is just out of reach for most people. Sure, you can hire a professional to do this kind of job, but it's going to cost an arm and a leg, not to mention the fact that people like to talk. A job like this would require multiple hands and hours upon hours to complete. Once you involve this many people, the lie is bound to get out. Somebody's going to talk. I just don't see that amount of secrecy being kept up by regular folk. It's a marvelous video, no matter what you think of its validity. So I'll just leave it here, and up to you to decide what to make of it. I just wish we had more context to judge it properly. This last one is by far my favorite, and I can't find any way to disprove it. Can you? It was taken by a group of hikers up in the Wasatch Mountains. When the man with the camera saw something through his spotting telescope, He was smart enough to place the spotter in front of the camera to catch a clip of this thing. Now, to give you an idea of just how remarkable this piece of video is, I need to give you an idea of what the conditions were like. The peak this guy is focusing on is 9,000 feet high, and up there the winds were going at about 20 knots, not to mention 90 inches of snow to trudge through. This is a brutal hike for a human. It's slow, arduous, and you're so bundled up that there is physically no way possible for you to walk at much more than a snail's pace. Go out to your nearest hill and try to run up it with only 10 inches of snow on it. Go on, let's see how fast you can make it. There's just no way a human, no matter how strong, trained, or determined, could scale that mountain under these conditions. We're talking 9,000 feet up, thin air, blinding snow, and 20-knot winds hammering the ridge. And yet, something is, and it's moving fast. Watch closely. What you're about to witness shouldn't be possible by any stretch of the imagination. And just when you think it can't get any stranger, it does. Look at its movement. It's deliberate, calculated, covering ground in a way no human would. It moves horizontally across the slope, then vertically, almost as if it's reading the terrain like a seasoned predator. It's not just climbing, it's adapting. In other words, it goes against the grain of the snow, where the grip is better, and when it finds an uneven spot, it goes upward. That's what lynxes and snow leopards do. You need to take snow at an angle to keep your footing and to prevent sheet slippage. It's acting like an animal, yet it's very clearly bipedal. And I can't think of anyone willing to stage a hoax that's this close to impossible at 9,000 feet up, with terrible weather conditions too. We actually got a stroke of luck later in the day, when a helicopter, completely unrelated to the hikers, flew over that area and caught a set of footprints that were spaced out to impossibly large strides. The terrain is rough, so it's hard to make out how wide they're spaced out from each other. But whoever made them had to be over 9 feet tall, probably closer to 12. Our time's run out for today, I'm afraid. But don't worry, this is just the start. Click that notification bell, we've got plenty more of our Bigfoot series on the way, and you don't want to miss out on any future videos. I promise you, it just gets better and better after this point. Whatever you want to call it, Bigfoot, skunk ape, yeti, or something else. There's something out there, and it's doing everything it can to avoid contact with humans. Sure, there are hoaxes out there, and I'll be the first one to point them out when I can. But what about the scores of footage that we can't explain? There are just too many stories and videos and photos out there to deny that Bigfoot's been here before people ever set foot in the Americas. Whatever you think you saw, those strange sounds in the darkness and the unnatural quiet that falls over the forest, so intense that not even the crickets are chirping. Something silenced the creatures of the woods. You haven't gone mad, nature knows it's there, and deep down, so do you. Until next time, keep the fire going and make sure you're armed when you're out in the wilderness. And if you thought that was wild, wait till you see what we've got lined up next.